Our third guest is an author and public speaker who focuses on the body, the soul, and the mind as a way of worship. Jared Zimmerer spoke with Carol Lee about his ministry, Strength for the Kingdom. Take a look. So we're joined by Jared Zimmerer of the Strength for the Kingdom ministry. Jared, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
It's wonderful to be with you.
You have a very long resume. You're a husband, a father of 5. Congratulations on the new little guy.
Thank you very much.
And I know you're an author, a speaker, and your message is just one that is so interesting to me because I have 3 boys. And it's really targeted towards men about being authentically masculine. Can you explain that?
Yeah, so part of it is this was also part of my conversion into a deeper understanding of the faith. In large part, I was searching for what does it mean to be a man, and at the time I was very interested in bodybuilding, very interested in powerlifting, and so I started doing a lot of research, a lot of studying, and then fully realized that it's following Christ in the cross, in the way of the cross. And so I started to kind of see the correlation between healthy living, which is an ascetic lifestyle of sorts, and authentic masculinity, which is a life of sacrifice. And so the kind of correlation between those two really just kind of hit me on the head, and it became something I'm very passionate about.
Now, tell me about your book. You wrote a book called Man Up, which sounds fantastic. What was your message in that book?
Yeah, in large part, that was myself and 11 other guys came together to kind of define what it means to be a Catholic man in today's world. You know, we're dealing with so much as men, as families. How do we kind of combat that as men in the world? So we talk about all sorts of things: theological manhood, biblical manhood, but also things like the theology of the body, even finances in the home, what it means to be a husband, what it means to be pro-life as a man, sort of looking at every different little aspect of what it means to be a man. And I hollered at guys that I believe are kind of experts in that field to kind of define that for us. And so sort of a coming together of guys to define what that means.
As a mother of 3 boys, and of course, you know, my husband as well, I always like to hear stories of guys who are not afraid to say that they love Jesus, where you see tough guys still bowing before him. And I think that's such an important message that you're sending. And sometimes in the world, I feel like, you know, guys are kind of up against the wall, you know, trying to be that, you know, masculine guy, that tough guy, and sort of afraid to show that, yes, they love Christ, they're following Christ, and he is meaningful in their life.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. There's sort of this false notion that to become a real man, you have to be this hard-shelled, you know, person that's unloving and all of that. And really, it's the exact opposite. A real, authentic man is one of sacrifice, one of love. I always say that authentic Catholic masculinity is Christ crucified. And so if I think that if we have those kinds of servant leaders in our home, the better our families are going to be, the better our country will be. You know, we will see a change. And so it's a funny understanding of masculinity that's offered by, I think, modernism and relativism to say that men have to be this hard-shelled, sort of angry dolt, you know, that, and I would argue the opposite, that men need to be focusing in on the mental aspect of who they are, the spiritual aspect of who they are, and the physical aspect as well, to kind of create this aura of the perfect male.
So when you're at the gym, right? I mean, I don't know if you go to a gym that's just for Catholic guys, but if you're at a gym and you're lifting weights, do you start talking Jesus?
You do. I mean, I personally, I lift weights at my own house most of the time. I have enough weights in my garage. I have this really huge tire that I flip all kinds of stuff in my garage.
Do you really?
And so that was I think part of my wedding vows was to get a gym in my home. But when I do go to the gym, you know, normally little small things like just wearing a T-shirt that happens to have Christ on it, or just something like that, is actually a really good conversation starter. And especially if you're there, you know, working out, working hard, sweating, you're not the typical gym goer that's just people seeing. They see a guy that's dedicated to the craft of weightlifting, but he's also a devout Christian, and then that creates a really good opportunity. I've met some of my really good friends in the gym. You kind of have that same kind of route of access of friendship, of community through the gym and through weights, and so you start to trust someone based on this kind of secular thing of weightlifting. But then from there, you can start to grow in discipleship together and be willing to kind of be vulnerable with one another about the spiritual struggles you're dealing with. It's an interesting path.
Surely no one's going to give you a hard time, too, if you're a bodybuilder wearing a Jesus t-shirt. I'm sure you have.
That's right.
I'm sure it helps you a little bit. What is your message to young men today, teenage boys? There are so many things in our culture, as you know, you're a young guy, that is really against what the Catholic Church teaches. And as a mom, how could you encourage my kids, to keep on keeping on and knowing that they're on the right path as they're following Christ?
Yeah. I think in every boy's heart, I think also in every man's heart, there's this desire to be a hero. There's this desire to be that Superman, that sacrificial hero for the world. And I would argue that Catholic masculinity, specifically Catholicism, I argue, is the route to be an authentic hero in the world. I push so hard for guys to be reading the lives of the saints. It was the lives of the martyrs that really inspired me. They were able to literally stare death in the face and smile and forgive the person that was shooting them or torturing them. I mean, what more could the masculine heart, which desires heroism, ask for? That's what Catholicism offers.
Well, you have a fantastic message, a beautiful family, and a great ministry. God bless you, and thank you so much for sharing all of that with us today.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you very much.